Hi, everyone. Just wanted to give you an update at the end of the week here on my work with Copilot Cowork, how I'm using skills and what I'm doing with Dynamics 365 sales, because things are really starting to get exciting now. And I'm taking our best workflows and I'm getting instant reusable superpowers within seconds that are really lighting up things like analytics, dashboarding, and reporting. Now, think of things like sequence performance. That typically is an area with Dynamics that we've struggled with, and we're relying on some of the out of the box reports. Or even think of a daily call prep analytics brief, ready on demand, served up to you in Outlook and Teams. No rebuilding, no digging, just click, point, run. Using Cowork, using skills, we can take care of the heavy lift. And that's what I wanted to focus on today is show you some great discoveries, some great ideas in order to increase your productivity. So let's dive right in. For anybody who's been around Dynamics for a while, you've probably recognized this screen, the Sales Accelerator, which I use for my velocity selling and being able to go through those sequences and use that guided selling to help me complete my tasks. And of course, the key to that is using sequences, which are built up of several tasks and orchestrations in order to help me get through that guided selling. And of course, sequences are a fantastic benefit of Dynamics 365 sales, keeping me on track. Where it gets tricky, though, and where Cowork can help is when I want to report on the effectiveness and performance of a sequence. So think about the email interactions, the blockages I may have in that sequence, the lack of engagement or interactions that may be happening across different channels. How do you roll all that up into a comprehensive report so you can course correct or improve your performance? And that's where Cowork comes in. Behind the scenes with sales insights and especially sequences, we do get some information here around the record breakdown and sequences in aggregate, but we tend to rely on fairly older Power BI reports, which just don't have the same nimbleness as Cowork. And so in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to close my sequence designer. I'm going to bring up Cowork and I'm going to ask it some questions in order to help it build me a rich analysis dashboard to help me with my next steps. Okay, so I'm going to ask Copilot to help me build a comprehensive interaction dashboard for my sales lead qualifications. I'm just going to focus on one right now in order to get those detailed analytics, but then we'll explore how we can do this in aggregate. So really straightforward. I asked my question, and of course, I'm connected using the Dynamics 365 sales plugin here, so I can bring that data into the equation. Let's let that run, and we'll check back in a moment how it's going. Okay, so this is where it gets really awesome. So I asked it to create a sales lead interaction dashboard, and you can see here it took approximately 3 minutes to run. And I, again, just focusing on a singular sequence, I have my connected leads, average response time, step progress, latest touch, and then I have it broken down into beautiful visualizations. And of course, I can make this interactive as well. If I prompt it and say, hey, turn this into a responsive, interactive, accessible HTML application dashboard, it will spit it out and actually create it as an interactive app as well. But I have a better idea for this. I want this to arrive in my manager's mailbox on a regular cadence so they can keep an eye on how the team is performing. So fantastic from a breakdown across channels, where the leads are right now for the different stages. And then what I love the most is that if I look at all of my different leads, we get the progress touch points across the channels, when the last touch point was, and you could even ask it further to drill in and get some of the statistics around that. I can see where all of my different leads are at different stages. Fantastic use of AI in Cowork. I love this, and I was so proud when I discovered it that I could do it. Because you imagine having that sitting right next to your lead records, or in fact, even your insights as you're trying to navigate this and make sense of it. Or if you don't want to be in Dynamics to be able to do this work, send it out to your channel of choice. So, really fantastic. The next thing I'm going to do with this is I'm going to add it as a skill, and we'll take a look at that. So I've just popped into Cowork on my full screen because I want to show you a little bit more about skills. So what is a skill? Copilot Cowork lets you package up repeatable tasks, and they call them skills. And the idea is that if you want to regularly generate reports, prepare a call brief, or do something that is reusable and repeatable, we can turn those into skills. And that allows you to kind of recreate that experience anytime, anywhere, and run it in seconds. And the idea is that we can simplify complex workflows into just a few prompts. So sellers, especially using Dynamics 365, can stay focused on what they're good at, which is execution, and we can make those skills really simple, and interactive, and they can just do those same things every day without creating extra work. So let me show you what I mean. I'm going to click on the plus symbol and add work context. If I go to the skills tab, you can see Cowork is already filled with a variety of different skills. It understands Word and Excel and PowerPoint, creating PDFs. It has built-in daily briefings to create a meeting preparation. It understands meetings and schedulings. This thing is very, very smart. And you'll notice from a previous video, I talked about work IQ and the IQ layer. That is how Microsoft, we can do this by linking all of that information together. But what if I wanted to add my own skill to this? I can actually go ahead and interact with those skills just by using a backslash. So if I wanted to access my daily briefing, you can see that it comes up as a skill that I can just click, use, let it run, and it'll get on with the work. But let's go back to Dynamics, and I want to look at how I can add that daily interaction sequence report as a skill for future use. So this part is ridiculously simple. I'm going to say create this as a skill. And because we've got the context of what I've asked it to do, I'm just going to go add that in. And we'll check back in a moment, but it's going to go ahead and it's going to package it up with some verification steps to make sure that this is the correct skill. Okay, so you can see that it's breaking down the markup of what it's interpreting as the sequence dashboard skill. It's writing it all out into different sections with all of the different layers that it needs to be able to build those visuals and create and access that data point. I love this because it shows you with transparency how we're accessing the data and what we're actually going to include in that skill for future use. And of course, I can make changes, updates, even delete the skill if I want to through skill management, which is all part of this as well. And so you can see we've got the guardrails, we've got the breakdown of the skill, where we're getting the data from, which is fantastic. So I'm going to say go ahead and add as a skill, giving it the authorization. Okay, so what you just saw there is quality control. We wanted to make sure the structure of the skill was correct. We're accessing the right tables. And in fact, it actually gave us a skill quality report as a final step here to say, is it within the boundaries of the data we're looking for? Is it clear? Do we have enough phrases to be able to trigger the skill going forward? Very, very helpful in the feedback loop to make sure that I've got this correct. And you can imagine any typical worker could set these up and do it. It's not a highly technical, laborious task to do these things. And so my skill is now set up. I have my sequence interaction dashboard as the name of my skill. And so if I go start a new Cowork session here, all I need to do is use my /, go into my skills, and I will see my sequence interaction dashboard skill. So I could just type that if I wished as well, but that is the packaging of all of that knowledge, and I can simply just kick that off and it will go and rinse and repeat what I did. Now, this gets even better when you think about the scheduling and the sending out, and we'll take a little look at that in a second here when we think about a daily call preparation report. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about a daily briefing report, and there is a fantastic skill out of the box with Cowork, which will send you a daily briefing. I wanted to hone that further. I wanted to expose risks. I wanted to kind of go more omni-channel, tap into different channels of communication, knowing that, hey, maybe I need to report into my executive leadership team on my call frequency and the types of calls I'm making. So I used the daily briefing, skill as kind of a starting point, but I wanted to take it further. And I had a really interesting experience with this. So I created a skill, daily call prep. And when I first put in my instructions, I said, hey, look at my calendar, create a nice briefing for me, make it ready so I could send it to myself or to my leadership team to give me an overview. And it didn't do bad. It created some headers. It did big, colorful icons. Personally, not a big fan of those. And then it broke it down into kind of a Copilot type summary of my day. Wasn't bad at all. I think the bones of what I was looking for was there, but it wasn't executive presence enough, and it also didn't address risks and gaps. And so just to give you a little bit of history, what I did is I had a conversation with Cowork about the skill. And I said, hey, I want to bring up the skills. I want to edit this existing skill, and I want to make changes to it. So I'm showing you this to show you that it's a very immersive, interactive experience to add, remove, delete, add sections, and hone and make your skills even better. Even if you don't get it right the first time, it's okay. This is very, very forgiving to help you with that. So you can see I went into my daily core prep skill. I looked at the different options and I wanted to change the reporting structure. So it asked me, what did I want to change? Well, I wanted to add in and make it more of an HTML template. I wanted it more accessible. I wanted it to be suitable for teams in Outlook to be able to distribute this information and kind of bubble up an executive summary, if you will, to make it easier to understand. And of course, like you saw before, I got interactions with the skill, the markup of what the structure is going to be, so I can vet and validate what is going to go into it. And then it did apply, HTML templating around this as well to make it more responsive and accessible, which I did appreciate. And then it made some recommendations that said, hey, we can update the draft of your skill. And then we can also, and I love this, set up a recurring weekly schedule. So send this once, twice, 3, 5 days a week. You dictate that on a regular cadence, supply that to a mailbox of your choosing. So the recurrence of the skill executing on my behalf, orchestrating that workflow, was taking care of me just by telling the skill what I wanted to happen. And that was amazing. Back in, I'm an old guy. We used to use Power Automate for that. This is fantastic that we're taking care of that automatically for you. So the skill was updated. We made more updates. And then I had a long conversation. I wanted to change some of the preparation. I wanted to make sure it looked good. And I regenerated it. And I really, really honed in on the kind of final output of what went into this particular daily briefing skill. And I'm going to scroll down through all of the kind of the back and forth because that's less important. But what is important is once I got it to a very happy place and I was happy, it went into the regular cadence and it got distributed. And I could review that in a couple of different ways. One, just to show you, yes, my daily call prep is on a regular cadence. The scheduling was taken care of for me. There is my skill. So I love this as well. I can take that skill, I can share it with colleagues, and other people can load this up into their co-work, which is a topic for another day. But this is a reusable skill, so they also don't have to write out the prompt. And then I also get a nice preview of the daily prep call in HTML format. But what I love the most about this is obviously all of these skills and plugins working together beautifully on my behalf. If I go over to my mailbox, here is an example of what I actually got. And I was really impressed with this. One, it is interactive. I can zoom around my email using these headers here to look at things like the executive summary. What is stalled? What is the outstanding revenue? What do I need to focus my energy on? Which is that risk assessment I really wanted to put in. It took a bit of work, but I got my visual dashboards coming in here as well. I want this to be very obvious where I should spend my time if I'm sharing this with my executive leadership team to be able to weigh in. I look at who should I call preparation, call frequency, who needs to be followed up on. And of course, we've got the traffic lights in there indicating color coding. The next best actions, the customer meetings. I love this. It actually went into my appointments, my calendar, my Outlook, and it pulled all that information together using IQ to bring in those meetings, which are on my list as well. And then started to cover off risks, outstanding gaps, and a pipeline snapshot. And of course, this was built based on my imagination, coaching and honing that skill, which I've turned into a reusable, repeatable package that I can use every day on my regular cadence. So I love this. Super, super cool. And, as I said, I used to build these for a living using SSRS and tools that actually would be complicated with a lot of joins and a lot of interactions to get that done. So super impressed with Cowork, again, plugged in, working with Dynamics 365 right here. Hopefully you saw smarter insights, less busy work, and more time focused on what actually matters and moves the needle. If you found this helpful, stick around, come back to the channel. There's a lot more coming. Depending on when you're watching this, Microsoft Build is going to be in a couple of weeks, and expecting some really great announcements there as well. But hopefully this helps you work smarter, sell faster, and work smarter with AI. Like, share, take care, and I'll see you on the next one. Thanks.